They went to sleep in their cabin at 11:47 p.m. By morning, the bed was empty. The door was locked from the inside. Personal belongings were untouched. A passport still sat neatly inside the drawer. A phone was charging on the nightstand. No one saw them leave. No alarms were triggered. No disturbance calls were made. Security cameras captured nothing out of the ordinary. Yet somehow, between midnight and dawn, they vanished without a trace. How does someone disappear from a cruise ship overnight? This account is based on official reports, publicly available records, and witness statements. It is presented respectfully, with the intent of honoring those who remain missing and the families still searching for answers. Cruise ships are marketed as some of the safest environments in the world. Floating cities, designed to carry thousands of people across open water while maintaining constant control. Every hallway monitored, every deck patrolled, every movement logged through keycards, cameras, and onboard systems. Motion sensors line the railings. Crew members work in rotating shifts. Emergency protocols exist for nearly every scenario imaginable. These vessels represent the peak of modern maritime engineering. Redundant systems, advanced navigation technology, sophisticated surveillance networks, trained security teams operating around the clock. Each passenger is counted, tracked, and accounted for through automated systems that claim to leave little room for error. The cruise industry transports more than 30 million passengers every year. The vast majority return home safely, with nothing more than souvenirs and photographs to remember their trip. But cruise ship disappearance cases challenge that narrative. When passengers who disappeared overnight on cruise ships simply vanish without witnesses, alarms, or explanations, it raises unsettling questions. Questions about blind spots in systems we trust. Questions about what happens when something goes wrong far from land. Questions about whether the safety we are promised is real or carefully curated. Because if someone can vanish from a cruise ship without anyone noticing, what does that say about the illusion of security we've been sold? Her name was Rebecca Martinez. She was 28 years old, a marketing coordinator from Phoenix, Arizona. Rebecca had spent nearly 2 years saving for a 7-day Caribbean cruise. It was meant to be a celebration, a reward for earning a major promotion at work. She decided to travel alone, something she had done before on smaller trips. Friends described her as careful, thoughtful, and organized. The kind of person who shared itineraries with family and checked in regularly. Rebecca planned everything in advance. Dinner reservations were booked, shore excursions selected and paid for. She even left instructions for her neighbor about watering her plants while she was gone. Nothing about her behavior suggested impulsiveness or risk-taking. Nothing hinted that this trip would end in mystery. Her last confirmed evening began quietly. Rebecca ate dinner in the ship's main dining room, ordering the salmon special. She spoke casually with other solo travelers seated at her table. Staff later described her as relaxed and cheerful. Security footage confirmed she left the dining room at 9:15 p.m. She stopped briefly at the ship's gift shop, purchasing postcards and a small souvenir keychain. The cashier later recalled Rebecca asking where she could mail postcards once they reached the next port. It was an ordinary interaction, unremarkable in every way. At 10:30 p.m., cameras recorded Rebecca entering an elevator on Deck 7. Her keycard data showed she accessed Deck 9, where her cabin was located. At 10:45 p.m., she used her keycard to enter cabin 9247. A passenger in the neighboring cabin reported hearing Rebecca's television playing softly around 11:30 p.m. It was background noise, nothing loud enough to complain about, just the sound of someone winding down for the night. The ship's automated systems recorded Rebecca's final keycard activity at 11:47 p.m. She had stepped out briefly to retrieve ice from the machine down the hall. Another passenger saw her in the corridor, wearing pajamas and holding an ice bucket. They exchanged a few words about the next day's port visit. Rebecca mentioned she was looking forward to visiting a butterfly garden during the excursion. She seemed excited, calm, normal. She returned to her cabin. After that, nothing. No additional keycard use. No recorded movements. No verified sightings. This created a critical window between midnight and 6 a.m., a span of hours where Rebecca's movements became impossible to trace. According to official statements, several security cameras on Deck 9 were undergoing what was described as routine maintenance during that time. Portions of the corridor had no recorded footage. Motion sensors registered only standard activity levels, consistent with crew movement. No emergency alarms were triggered. The automated man-overboard detection system did not record any alerts. There is a gap where nothing explains what happened. Rebecca's absence wasn't discovered until late the following morning. She had signed up for a shore excursion scheduled to depart at 10:30 a.m. When she failed to appear at the meeting point, staff initially assumed she had overslept. Calls to her cabin went unanswered. At 11:15 a.m., ship security used a master keycard to enter cabin 9247. What they found raised immediate concern. The bed appeared slept in, but neatly made. Her suitcase was still packed exactly as she had arranged it. Clothes for the day were laid out. Her phone remained plugged into the charger, fully powered. Passport and identification were secured in the room safe. Jewelry and valuables were untouched. The ice bucket she had retrieved the night before sat on the small table, water melted and undisturbed. The television was off. The sliding door to the balcony was closed and locked. Her shoes were lined up by the closet. Everything suggested someone who planned to return. The captain was notified immediately. A full ship-wide search began. Crew members checked public areas, storage spaces, restricted zones, and even the medical facility. Rebecca Martinez was nowhere to be found. That afternoon, the cruise line issued a statement. They described the situation as an unfortunate accident. Maritime authorities suggested Rebecca may have fallen overboard during the night. The case was quickly labeled accidental. Condolences were offered to her family. The cruise line emphasized its commitment to safety and stated that all standard procedures had been followed, but the details did not align. Rebecca was known to be afraid of heights. Family members confirmed she had deliberately chosen an interior cabin to avoid being near the ocean. Friends said she rarely went near railings and avoided open decks late at night. No witnesses reported seeing her on any exterior deck after 10 p.m. Security footage from outdoor cameras showed no activity involving her during the overnight hours. The mysterious cruise ship disappearance at sea raised more questions than answers. How does someone accidentally fall overboard from an interior cabin? Why were cameras offline during the exact window when she vanished? Why was everything she owned left behind? These unanswered questions fueled multiple theories. One theory suggests Rebecca left her cabin during the night and somehow fell into the ocean. Accidents do happen at sea, but this explanation requires a series of unlikely coincidences occurring without detection. Another theory involves foul play. Rebecca was traveling alone and may have encountered someone with harmful intent. Yet no evidence of a struggle was found, and no witnesses came forward. Some investigators considered the possibility of a voluntary disappearance. But Rebecca had stable finances, no legal troubles, and close relationships with family and friends. Those who knew her insist this was completely out of character. A more troubling theory centers on internal mishandling. Critics argue that cruise lines have strong incentives to minimize serious incidents. Public scrutiny affects profits. Legal consequences can be severe. Some believe evidence may have been lost, misinterpreted, or never fully disclosed. Rebecca's case is not isolated. Over the past 2 decades, more than 200 people have vanished from cruise ships. Many cases share striking similarities. Disappeared overnight. No witnesses. Security gaps. Belongings left behind. Official explanations of accidental drowning. families left without closure. Maritime law adds another layer of complexity. Cruise ships operate in international waters, often under foreign flags. Jurisdiction is fragmented. Investigative standards differ. Evidence preservation is not always guaranteed. The cruise industry points to statistics, emphasizing that millions travel safely every year. But statistics mean little to families searching for answers. Rebecca's family continues to fight. They have hired private investigators, filed lawsuits, requested access to records, created awareness campaigns. Her case remains unsolved. On the night she vanished, over 3,000 people were aboard that ship. Most slept. Some enjoyed late-night shows. Crew members worked their shifts. Nobody reported hearing anything unusual. Nobody noticed a disturbance. Nobody saw Rebecca leave. Yet she vanished completely. If it happened while everyone slept, who was awake? What did they see? And why has the truth remained out of reach? The ocean keeps its secrets, but families keep searching, and some disappearances refuse to be forgotten. If stories like this stay with you long after the screen goes dark, subscribe to Vanished at Sea. Turn on notifications so you don't miss future investigations. Share this story to keep Rebecca's name alive, because the search for truth never truly ends.